Ravenwood Manor stood atop a hill overlooking the small, forgotten town of Blackthorn. Its once pristine walls were now weathered and crumbling, vines creeping up like veins on a dying body. The mansion had been abandoned for decades, yet the townsfolk avoided it as if it were still alive, breathing with dark intent. Legends spoke of a curse, a string of tragedies that befell anyone who dared enter. It was said the last family to live there, the Winstons, had vanished without a trace one stormy night in 1895. No one knew what happened, and no one dared to find out. That is, until a group of curious friends decided to spend the night there. It started as a dare during a Halloween party. Emma, Jake, Laura, and Chris were skeptical of the stories. They were young, adventurous, and eager for a thrill. "Come on," Jake said with a grin. "It's just an old house. Ghosts aren't real." Emma hesitated but eventually agreed. The group packed flashlights, snacks, and a camera to document their ghost hunt. They didn't realize they were walking into a nightmare. The manor loomed larger as they approached. Its broken windows resembled empty eyes, and the front door hung slightly ajar, creaking in the wind. The air grew colder as they stepped inside. The interior was a time capsule of decay. Dust-covered furniture, shattered chandeliers, and peeling wallpaper told stories of better days. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the creak of the floorboards under their feet. In the grand hall, Laura spotted something strange, a portrait of the Winston family. The parents stood proudly, their 3 children smiling. But as she stared, the smiles seemed to fade, replaced by hollow expressions. "Guys, come look at this," she whispered. As the group gathered around, the room grew colder. The chandelier above them swayed, though there was no breeze. "Let's keep moving," Chris said, his voice shaky. They ventured deeper into the house, finding a door that wouldn't budge. Jake, always the bold one, kicked it open. Behind it was a staircase leading down to the basement. "Classic horror movie stuff," Emma joked nervously. But as they descended, the air became thick and suffocating. The basement was lined with shelves of old books and strange jars filled with unidentifiable substances. In the center of the room was a table with a single candle burning, though no one had been there for years. As they examined the room, Emma found an old diary. It belonged to Margaret Winston, the mother of the family. The entries became increasingly erratic, describing strange noises, shadowy figures, and an oppressive presence that seemed to control the house. "The house isn't haunted," Emma read aloud. "It's alive." Suddenly, the candle extinguished, plunging the room into darkness. A low, guttural growl echoed around them. The group's flashlights flickered, and shadowy figures began to emerge from the corners of the room. They weren't fully human, distorted and twisted, their faces frozen in silent screams. "Run!" Jake shouted. They bolted up the stairs, but the house seemed to shift around them. Hallways stretched endlessly, doors appeared where there hadn't been any, and the walls seemed to close in. Emma tripped and fell, landing in a small room she hadn't seen before. On the floor was a strange symbol, glowing faintly red. It pulsed like a heartbeat. This is it, she realized. The source of the curse. The others burst in just as the shadows surrounded Emma. She reached out and touched the symbol, and a deafening scream filled the air. The shadows froze, then dissolved into ash. The house groaned, its walls cracking as if it were collapsing in on itself. The group ran, barely making it out before the entire structure imploded, leaving nothing but a pile of rubble. As they stood on the hill, gasping for breath, Emma looked down at her hand. The symbol was now etched into her skin, glowing faintly. "It's not over," she whispered. Weeks later, Emma began hearing whispers in her dreams, calling her back to Ravenwood Manor. The curse had chosen her as its new host.